Just because you make a lot of money and live a lavish lifestyle does not mean you have any green at the end of the day. Ever watch one of the Bravo shows, particularly those Real Housewives shows, and they are spending money like there's no tomorrow, and you know that they make a lot of money to do those seasons that you're watching. And yet, some of them, I would say a lot of them actually, go through financial problems. Say things like, I can't afford, I don't have the money. And you sit there and you go, how is that possible? That is what we're going to unwrap today. And so I hope you enjoy this journey. We are going to run into pop culture and show how pop culture might be actually hindering you from getting to the financial freedom that you really want. And who am I? I do financial advising. I have been doing it for over 13 years, and that is what we work on with clients, is financial freedom. And so, obviously, I'm not necessarily proud of the fact that I watch these Real Housewives show. I feel like I probably am burning brain cells when I watch them. I'm sure a lot of you out there do. It's a splurge. And just the other day, I think it was over the weekend, I believe, I was screaming at the television, which I do when I watch these shows. My husband was looking at me like I was an insane person, because they're talking about finances like, oh, I pay $26,000 a month in rent. Well, somebody is getting very rich off of you. The network you're on, the people who are renting you their house that you think $26,000 is a reasonable rent, that's crazy. And I was watching this storyline where she said, well, I run a small business and there's no way that I could actually afford that. I have to get my ex-husband to pay for it. And it just got me infuriated. As a woman, first and foremost, we need to be able to take care of ourselves. We don't need some guy that we've discarded, I don't care what the reason was, to help us with rent. I mean, yes, he has an obligation. They have kids together, all that stuff. I agree. He needs to be able to pay his share and take care of the kids. But why are you living in a house that you have zero control over the ability to stay there or not? Because you are so overdoing it because of where you live and all this stuff. And this is not just the shows that are on now. It's all of the Real Housewives. There's always at least one of them that is overspending to the point that it just makes me insane. And these are not stupid women. They wouldn't be on the show if they were stupid. They got there through means of charm, ability to talk to people, create interesting storylines that we all come back to watch. They're not dumb women. I don't care how they portray themselves. They're not stupid, okay? And so I want to go through 5 things that you should not learn from watching The Real Housewives about your own finance. I hope that you take something from this, but I think this is more entertaining than anything. Honestly, if 2 people watch this and they get a laugh out of it, I've made my day, because this is ridiculous. And so I am outing myself. I do watch Bravo. I watch a lot of their shows, and I find them hysterical, and it helps me de-stress at the end of the day. So, number 1 thing to not learn from the Real Housewives of any city on Bravo is living beyond their means. The story I just told you is exactly what I'm talking about. Why are we paying a rent that there is no way that you could afford on your own? It's for show, right? She thinks that she can make some money, get some influence deals, whatever it is, to supplement and make up for this. That is not the way you do this, okay? You have to live within your means. There is a reason when you go through the mortgage process, and notice that a lot of these women don't own their own homes. That is just unbelievable to me. And then the ones that do, they make fun of them because they're not as big. I mean, this is dumb. But essentially, they don't own their own homes because their spending is so crazy. when you buy a home and you go through the mortgage process, there's only a certain percentage that they are going to take and say, can you afford this home? So if you make $10,000 a month, they're not going to give you a mortgage for $12,000 a month. They're just not, because you don't make that much. They'll give you a mortgage for maybe $5,000 a month, maybe $6,000. I think that's pushing it in today's rates, but they are going to say you can only use a certain percentage of your take home. And they don't even do take home, which is the worst part. Most of them do it based off of gross, which I don't understand that whole thing. But anyhow, but essentially, you know, there's a percentage in place. Debt to income ratio is there for a reason when you're buying a house. And these women who are spending so much on rent, so much on clothes. I mean, how often do you watch these shows and they are buying something, a piece of jewelry, some clothes, something like that, and they flash the amount on the screen and it's like 20 grand, and it makes me want to vomit. I don't know why anybody needs to buy a ring that's $20,000. I would be walking around with like protective gear on my finger if I was wearing it. I don't know why anybody would be so paranoid of something happening to it. And the same thing with luxury cars. I would be so paranoid to drive it. If there was a little nick, I would like lose my mind. I just don't know why anybody wants to buy this stuff. But I buy other stuff. I'm not a saint, okay? But I just don't understand the luxury cars, the extravagant clothes. I mean, clothes break down. I have clothes all the time that's like, you know, breaking down. I have to throw it away. If that is a 20,000 piece of something, I would be furious. I don't care how long I've had the thing for, right? So the overspending on these shows is just crazy, and they just live beyond their means to no extent. And so when you're watching something like this, I would like you to change your mindset of maybe, you know, sometimes you look at them and they're buying something and you're like, I wish I had that. Instead of that, start thinking about what you could do with that money that would actually impact your life more than buying a piece of jewelry that, you know, is going to sit in your jewelry box probably most of its life, because you're going to be paranoid to wear it out. And essentially, that is such a waste. And people call that investments. That's dumb. Okay? That's not an investment. You're lucky if you get what you spent for it. They're going to find some imperfection in it when you're trying to sell it. I mean, that's dumb to call that an investment. That jewelry is not an investment. It doesn't really go up in value. I have never heard of it going up in value from the time that it's bought to the time it's sold. You can get some money back for it. That's not a great investment. That's like buying a car and calling it an investment. That's not what happens, unless it's an old car. But even old jewelry, I don't believe does that. I've never heard of anybody. I could be wrong. You let me know. Feel free to message me and say that that's wrong. You know, this happened. But in 14 years almost of doing this, of helping people with financial planning, I've never heard that happening. So they live way beyond their means. And I want you to rethink that. Instead of looking at them and saying, oh, I wish that was me, think about what you could do, how that money could better your life. And that is a much more motivating thing to think of when you're watching these shows. Another thing is the impulse spending. You know, I hear a lot, they're always shopping on these shows. I mean, it makes women look like idiots because they're shopping all the time. And anyhow, so they're always shopping and they're gossiping about the new thing that's going on. And they're impulse buying all the time. I deserve it. You know, especially when they go on vacation. Have you heard that? They always say, I've had a rough time. I deserve it. And, you know, we do this all the time. And I've noticed that it kind of started there on these shows. And now people say that in real life. I've had girlfriends say that to me. I deserve it. I'm like, really? You deserve it? I mean, things are difficult for a lot of people. We all go through really horrible times. Some people never get a good bout in life. You know, they're always dealing with issues and things like that. And I get it. Sometimes you think that buying this thing is going to make you happy, but it really doesn't. It doesn't change anything. You still have the sickness, the loss, the irritation, the problems with kids, whatever it is still there. So this impulse spending can really put people into shambles. I have seen many people that have had huge credit card debt, and I go through with them and I say, well, what did we spend our money on? And they cannot really tell me. There are people definitely out there that have credit card debt and loans and things like that, and they're for things that happen, medical issues or things like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people who spend a lot of money and they cannot tell me what they spent the money on. That's impulse buying, right? That is impulse spending. And these shows tend to show this as a great thing, but it's not. And the thing that we as women need to stop saying to ourselves is, I deserve it. How about I deserve a secure future? I deserve to feel good in my own skin and that I know I can take care of myself. If I want a $26,000 rent a month, I can do it. I can spend that, and I have plenty of money to save and spend in other places. That is what we should be saying to ourselves, not I deserve something that is way outside of our budget and makes us feel good for like 10 seconds. That is one thing that they do a lot that drives me crazy on that show. Or any of the shows, really. All right. Number 3 is lack of planning. Lack of planning for the future, whether that's financially. Really, I'm probably going to talk about financially because that's what I do. But lack of planning in general, right? They don't plan for anything. It's like all of a sudden their kids, 18, and it's like, oh, college? We haven't thought about college. What is wrong with you? You know that they're coming up and that they're going to probably want to go to some kind of extra education. Why do you not have a plan for college? I just don't understand this. They act very like, oh, life just happens and you need to take care of it. Life does happen. Things happen that we cannot control, but there is some form of planning you can do that can help you during times like this. Nobody should be in a position that they, especially the amount of money that they make, that they cannot handle their finances and get through some rough times. There are some incidences where they've gone through lawsuits or something like that. Those are not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the basic financial needs that everybody goes through. Have you gone and seen how much lettuce is at the store? Everybody is going through this now. It is expensive to live life. And essentially having no plan of how to get out of a bad situation or how to prepare for the future, none of them talk about this. They just never talk about this. And I think that that's really a problem. There's no budgets, which I'm not a huge budget person anyhow. You've probably seen videos where I talk about that. I don't necessarily think that budgets are the end all be all, but they never have a rainy day fund. They never have, you never hear them talking about investments. I would love, maybe I'll do this maybe I'll start a podcast or something and do this. I would love to hear women sit down and actually talk about finances. Talk about money issues that they're having and how they're preparing and mistakes that they've made and how they feel about money. That would be wonderful, but none of them ever talk about this stuff because they act like everything else is more important. But money is what provides a secure present and future for yourself. That is what money is. I'm not saying money is the end all be all. I'm not saying you can't, money is everything. You just keep building. That's not it. It's about a secure present and future. And none of these women seem to be thinking about that, which drives me batty. Number 4, blind trust and bad investments. We have heard this time and time again where they are making horrible investments. They think that they're doing good things. They sell weird properties and they're like, I made so much money. But then they're pouring it all back into another property that they're not going to stay in for very long, not including anything about taxes, of course, when this happens. I'm not saying real estate's not a good thing to do, but you have to do it wisely. You have to understand how it works You have to understand timing and taxes. They never include anything about taxes when you look at any, not just the Bravo shows, the real estate shows too. I mean, they talk a little bit about taxes, but not as much as they really should, because they make it sound like, oh, just pour it over, no problem, you know. It's not the truth. And honestly, some of them, I've heard some of them are better than others, but the real estate shows, some of them, I swear, they're trying to explain a concept that's a very basic financial concept, and they can't explain it. I kind of wonder if they understand it themselves. And so I wouldn't be taking investment advice from somebody who cannot explain a basic financial element of their world of real estate. It's just unbelievable to me. So never take, I've had people do this before, not about Bravo celebrities, you know, but about other celebrities that they say, well, I saw this video and so said that they're investing this way. I heard this podcast. That actually is kind of what I hear more. I heard this podcast and so says that this is how they invest, and I'm thinking maybe I should do that, you know. And don't take advice from them. They don't know what they're talking about. They probably want you to invest to make their investment do better. And a lot of these women on these shows, and celebrities in general, some of them make great decisions on things. I have done shorts about Ryan Reynolds. He has made some really good financial and business decisions that have been amazing, actually. But there are some that make really bad investments. And so should you take advice or look into the way somebody invests on television or in celebrity world and invest that way? No, you should never do that. You should always talk to your financial person about that. That could be your CPA, that could be your financial advisor, it could be your investment guy, it could be, don't make choices based off of what a celebrity is telling you, whether it's a Bravo celebrity or some high A-class celebrity. It doesn't matter. They don't know your situation, and they are probably promoting something so that they make more money, not you, okay? All right, and number 5 is ego versus reality. This kind of goes back to the same idea of, you know, overspending, living outside your means. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel important to spend money on these shows. It makes people envy them. You know, it's the Instagram world. You know, we watch things. I was reading a really sad report maybe a couple months ago about how Gen Z just has given up the idea of retirement altogether. Not because they go, oh, retirement, I don't want to live, you know, I don't want to wait till, I want to YOLO, you live your life now, that kind of thing. That's not the reason. They look at Instagram and they say, there's no way I'd ever be able to afford that. I'm not even going to try. That's sad. That is sad. I mean, that makes my heart, I'm kind of almost tearing up. That makes me so sad that people do not believe that they can achieve anything. That's what this country is about, is, you know, I'm American. This what we do, is we want to achieve the American dream. And that makes me so sad that the youngest generation does not believe they can do it, because they see falsehoods on social media, on television, that are telling them that they can't achieve this. I got more emotional when I thought about that. Anyhow, but I just feel like we live in a world where there's a TV world and there's reality. And TV world is about, I hate to say this, trying to manipulate you to do something. There is some reason, ads, all that stuff. They all do it. Influencers, they all do it. They want you to purchase something to benefit them. But you need to benefit yourself. And that's the key thing. You cannot feel less than when you're watching these shows. And you also need to realize that the information that you're taking from those shows, if you utilize or put anything into place, has to benefit you. And so the biggest question you should ever ask yourself when you are going to implement something new, when it comes to your financial planning, or really just your success, right? Just trying to get to that next level to success in whatever capacity, is how is this going to influence myself, my family, my loved ones positively? And if you cannot answer that in a reasonable, rational way that you think is acceptable, don't do it. That is just a piece of life advice. It's not even financial advice. That is just the way it is. If you say, well, it will get me rich, how? How is it going to get you rich? And if you can't break that down, that's not a good thing to implement. That can cause a lot of problems. And also thinking about the downturn risk of everything too is very important. I should do a whole video on that. But anyhow, so it got very serious at the end. This was supposed to be a fun video, but it's okay. But I think, you know, when we watch this stuff and we see celebrities in this Instagram world and this Bravo celebrity world, we need to really understand that this is entertainment and take it for what it is, which is entertainment. And don't listen to people. And I really hope you don't have rent that's $26,000 a month. So with that, I'm going to leave you. I hope you were entertained a little bit. And I hope that you got something out of this that made you think a little bit before you make a decision that could hurt you in the long run. All right. So with that, take care. Thank you for staying to the end of the video, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.